Okay. Mantra 10, Sri Isopanisad. Anyadevahur vidyaya.
Anyadevahur vidyaya.
Yadahur vidyaya.
Yadahur vidyaya.
Iti shushrumadhiranam.
Adhiranam.
Enastad vichachakshire.
Namaskar Vichachakshire.
Okay, take it away. Who's to go first? Deepa, you go.
Anyadevahur vidyaya.
Anyadevahur vidyaya.
Nyadahur vidyaya.
Yadahur vidyaya.
Iti sushrumadhiranam.
Ishushrumadhiranam.
Yenastat vichachakshire.
Yenastad vichachakshire.
Anyadevahur vidyaya.
Anyadevahur vidyaya.
Adahur avidyaya.
Yadahur avidyaya.
Iti shushruma dhiranam.
Iti shushrumadhiranam.
Yena tad vichachakshare.
Yenastad vichachakshire. See, because we've done this verse so many times, you're both saying it like Sanskrit pundits. You're like pundits now. Sanskrit pundits.
Yes,
That's
it's
why it
getting
says practice makes perfect. So you're becoming perfect.
perfect.
Okay, Deepa, the translation, please.
The wise have explained that one result is derived from the culture of knowledge, and that a different result is obtained from the culture of nescience.
Okay, so last week we had finished off reading number 14, which is a big subject because it was about family life, and family life, if you haven't already realized, is very complex. You're dealing, everyone's nodding their head, yes.
Angles you into the materialism. Yeah, it's just
Because there's a lot of like permutations, combinations, different kinds of
exactly
mentalities. You're dealing with husbands, wives, kids, parents.
kids.
There's working, there's studying involved, paying bills, spending money, houses, paraphernalia, cars. There's so much things there. So I mean, brahmachari and sannyasi is very simple. There's just one person. There's not much, but grihastha ashram is there's a lot there. So it's up to you whether you want to talk about it more. I was going to ask you, did you both manage to anyone read the purport there in the Bhagavad Gita about that? Because Prabhupada discussed it very nicely. Anyone read that yet?
Yeah, I think I read that, but
Yeah.
that was last time after the class. I just had a glance through.
Oh, you did? Okay, because I highly recommend that. Prabhupada discussed it very well. I don't know do you want to talk more about that, or we'll go on to the next one? Did that make sense, what we were talking about last week, if you remember? Or we want to add anything? Do I need to clarify anything more about that, or?
So what I understand from there is that, I mean, when it says that wife, children, and home, then the revealed scriptures ordain. So where is the cutoff? It's sort of, you shouldn't be too much attached to them. But I was thinking in terms of, is that that we should be making our kids or everything more Krishna conscious rather than looking towards more of material knowledge and material things. But the other thing is also, I was thinking, as I think last time I also said, is that as a parent, you have been given responsibility of your kids, I mean, or souls, 3 souls, or how many kids you have.
Yep.
Your purpose is that, my understanding too is, your purpose is to take them and towards Krishna consciousness. That's our duty, to actually do that. That's the purpose, isn't it?
I mean, you hit it on the button by using the word duty. So rather than using the word attached to the family person's activities, but to do your duty with them, to do to act very dutifully. So you're not neglecting your duty. You're very attentive and alert to doing your duty as perfectly as you can. You try to be expert and do everything as perfectly as you can. However, without being attached. So that means we have to accept, isn't it, that everything is temporary in the material world. I mean, how can you really be attached to anything? I mean, whether you talk about inanimate objects like attached to your car, attached to your house, attached to your money, attached to your job, attached to people. I mean, everything's going to go, isn't it? I mean, the car's going to go, the house is going to go, the money's going to go, all the things, you name it. And, the grandparents, they might have already gone, or, the parents. Sometimes, I mean, see, previous to Kali Yuga, normally the parents would die and then the children. But in Kali Yuga, what happens, very inauspicious time, that sometimes the children die before the parents, which is before Kali Yuga. It's very rare. So what is there to be attached to? I mean, you can, but what's the point? Because nothing is permanent here. Nothing's permanent. I mean, the real attachment is in spiritual life, because everything is eternal. I mean, the soul is eternal, Krishna is eternal, all those relationships between different souls and Krishna is eternal. The spiritual world is eternal. The houses in the spiritual world are eternal. The cows are eternal. The trees are eternal. You get the idea, right? So, I mean, there's no problem in being attached there. That's the real attachment. Being attached in the material world is like, what about if you had a dream? If you had a dream last night, can you hold on to that?
No.
Why? Because you got to wake up, right? As soon as you wake up, the dream is gone, and you can never get it back. It's gone. So that's the thing. It's like that's illusory in the sense that it's not permanent. It's real in the sense that it's Krishna's energy. So the earth and water and fire, air and space and mind, ego, everything is all real. It's all Krishna's energy, but it's all temporary. And our thinking that it's permanent, that's the Maya. You get the idea? It's not that the material things is Maya, but our false idea that these things are permanent and I'm going to get permanent happiness from my relationship with them, that's Maya. That's the illusion. All things are meant to be Krishna's service. That's not Maya. So if we're serving Krishna with our husbands and wives, if we're serving Krishna by, educating our children to become devotees, if we're using our house as a temple for Krishna, our money in Krishna's service, our body in Krishna's service, our words, that's not Maya. But, thinking that these things are permanent, thinking that they're going to be the source of our happiness, that's illusory, So that kind of attachment is frowned upon. Thinking that anything we can hold on to anything, because you can't. What are you going to hold on to? You can't even nothing is more dear to us than our own body, but we can't even hold on to our own body. Even you're a millionaire, you can't go to the doctor. Here, doctor, I'll give you $1 million if you can give me another 2 years of life. No, when time's up, that's it. Doesn't matter how much money you have or how many doctors. When your time's up, it's time to go. That's it. Nothing's going to give you a second more than what you're destined to get. So, I mean, what's the point in being attached to anything in the material world? But it doesn't mean you don't have any love or any affection or anything like that. That's all there. But it's interesting. We sort of connect attachment with love. But it doesn't have to be like that. You can be detached and love. Isn't it? It's a bit of an unusual concept for our, Western trained mind. But yeah, it doesn't have to be that in order to love someone, you have to be attached. No, you can love and be detached. What do you think? Possible? I mean, I got a friend. We spent every day together, and we'd lived together in a van and then a bus. We ate together, slept in the same room, and laughed together, cried together, everything together, and distributed books together, everything. So we were so close. And then suddenly, at one point, he went to Australia, and then, we're not physically close anymore. And then he would spend time in India and stuff like that. And then, so physically we went together. So the attachment, you could say, was broken, I suppose. But the love wasn't. I mean, he still cares about me, and I still care about him. I think about him, he thinks about me. So, but physically that connection was broken. And that's just the way of the material world. It's explained that souls coming together in the material world is like two bits of seaweed coming together in the ocean. Vast ocean, right? Massive ocean. What's the chances of two pieces of seaweed meeting together? So sometimes they do. And then what happens when the currents change? Then the seaweed is carried away again. So we're like that, we're like bits of seaweed coming together, But it doesn't mean you don't, care about the people or think about them or whatever like that. But those physical connections are going to be broken sooner or later. But who cares about the physical? What's the importance of the physical? The real thing is the spiritual association. That is never broken. That is never broken. That's real love, based on service to God. So that's never broken. The service that I did with my friend, that's eternal. That the benefit of that is permanent, is eternal. So, and our connection spiritually as servants of Krishna is eternal. But our body's relationship is temporary. So they were just talking about that you have to be detached from that. Does that make sense?
Sorry. So when we talk about attachment here, we're referring just to the physical attachment, or also that, like thinking of them and worrying about them, and and all that. Is that different, or is that also part of attachment?
Yeah, our thinking can also be Maya, in the sense that this is my husband, my wife, my children. So that kind of thinking is also unfavorable. It's not real. So, I mean, Queen Kunti prays to Krishna, please sever my attachment to my family members. Now that's an interesting one, because who's Kunti's family? It's the Pandavas, it's her 5, and they're all devotees. So it's explained there, when she's praying to Krishna to cut off her attachment to her family, it's not talking about that spiritual connections, that Arjuna is a devotee, Yudhisthira is a devotee, Sahadev, they're all devotees of Krishna. They're very dear to Krishna. Why would you want to cut off from persons that are very dear to Krishna? You'd be a nutcase, So, but what she's saying is to cut off the attachment as a mother for the children. So sever that attachment as this Arjuna is my son, Yudhisthira is my son, just that bodily, because the children pop out of the mother's body. So there's that relationship based on the body. But that one, she's asking Krishna to cut off that based on false ego, that identification with the body. So that one is not useful. It's not favorable. Of course, Krishna does make that arrangement that the mother is very attached to the children, and that kind of illusion or maya is there for a reason. Thank God that our mums were attached to us. Otherwise, we would probably be, just neglected somewhere in some corner and not develop properly. It's because the mother was attached to us that we were protected and we were fed and clothed on time and everything was done on time and everything, because she was attached, So in that sense, that's just part of the natural system. That especially the mother is very attached to the children, and that way they develop properly and get trained properly and everything like that. But at a certain point, before we die, then that kind of concentration should reduce, because we have to concentrate on our relationship with God. And that would happen naturally, because the children would grow up, so then they would get, the parents would get them married, or like now they choose themselves a partner and they get married, and then they don't need you anymore to look after them or whatever. So why do you need to keep that attachment? So why do you keep that? So as long as they're with you, you should have some degree of attachment to the body. Otherwise, they're not going to develop, But at a certain point, especially and that's called vanaprastha ashram. So when you go from grihastha ashram, family life, to vanaprastha ashram, means retired life. So the children have grown up, they've got married. Then you take vanaprastha ashram. Then there's no need for sex anymore with your partner, and the children are gone. You don't have to worry about them anymore. They're taking care of themselves. And then you focus more on your spiritual development. That was the natural system. And then at a certain point, some of the husbands may take sannyas and become a dedicated preacher. That's if they were inclined as a brahmana, or maybe a kshatriya. The sudras and that wouldn't take sannyas. Sudras and vaishyas not very often, definitely not sudras, but the brahmanas may take sannyas. They're very intelligent and everything like that. And then if that's the case, the husband taking sannyas, then the wife would go back under the care of the grown-up son. Probably the oldest son, go back under the care of the son. So she would be looked after like that by the son. Of course, all these things, in Kali Yuga don't work so well. Sometimes we don't even have a son, and even if we do, he's going to say, get lost, I don't want to look after you, just go in a rest home or retirement home or whatever. So, not always, but it's not always the same as when Varnashram was being followed properly. But, definitely before death, we want to change the attachment from, thinking about just our bodies of our family members and so forth to think about God. You got the example, even like family pets, right? If you're even Bharat Maharaj, right? He got attached to a deer, and then when he died, he was thinking about a deer, and then he took birth as a deer. So that's the idea. We don't want to be doing that. We don't want that kind of attachment. He actually gave up his spiritual practice because he was so absorbed in the deer. Then he didn't stop chanting his mantras and stop his puja and everything like that. So that we definitely don't want to go that way. We were attached to God, now we become attached to something else. We want to go to the point where we're attached to something else and we become attached to God. And you can't be thinking of everything. I mean, you're thinking about your family member and God at the same time. I mean, it's not so easy. I mean, usually, you know, our heart focuses on one object, isn't it? So you can't have hundreds and thousands of objects in your heart, you know, in your consciousness at the same time, you know. So at a certain point, we want to transfer. And of course, because we never know exactly when we're going to die, the sooner we start to transfer the attachment, because we can go at any time. But definitely, you know, we should do all of these activities as a matter of duty. That's very important. And there's definitely love there, and doing your duty. I mean, why would we, you know, work so hard to maintain family members if there wasn't some affection, some love there? I mean, am I just an idiot that I work 8 or 10 or 12 hours a day, 5 or 6, 7 days a week? You know, it's because there's some love there. Definitely there's some love there, but also you have to realize that these relationships are going to end sooner or later. So that has to be in the back of the mind. You have to know that it's only temporary like that. Does that make sense? You don't want to be at the point where suddenly the house burns down, or you lose your job, or a family member gets cancer or whatever like that, and then all hell breaks loose in your consciousness and you go crazy, and you know, what's the point of that? And you stop doing all your activities, you know, you stop your chanting and everything because you're just so disturbed. And you know what, you know, that's not favorable, is it?
No.
Should be doing more at that time, I guess.
But you know, the idea is these relationships, like I mentioned, can be very favorable to our Krishna consciousness. Like I mentioned, the having a wife keeps the husband's mind very peaceful and not disturbed by sex desire. Having a husband keeps the wife's mind very peaceful, that she's protected and secure and safe and everything maintained and everything like that. Keeps the mind very peaceful like that. So these kind of relationships can be very favorable to our Krishna consciousness. Sometimes we can serve to Krishna together with family members. I mean, if all the family members aren't on the same page, which is quite often in Kali Yuga, that they're not all going to be devotees in the family. So, but then it's still helping us materially, you know. Either, you know, we don't have to worry about paying the bills because someone else is doing it, or, you know, we don't have to be mad after lusty things, you know, like that, because that's being taken care of. So at least something is good there in the relationship. So we should keep that. Why? It's not saying, oh, being detached from the family means, it doesn't say leave the family, does it? Krishna's not saying leave your family right away. He's saying just, you know, continue your family things, but with detachment, not being overly attached. What does it say? Not more attached than what the scriptures say. You know, it doesn't say not be attached, but don't be more than what the scriptures say, like that. And the Bhagavad Gita, what does it say? Freedom from entanglement with children, wife, home, and the rest. So, you know, be with family, but not be entangled. See, if you're overly attached, then you get entangled. And day and night, you're just dreaming about your partner or the kids or whatever like that. And you never think about God, never ever think about God. Well, you're entangled. You know, all you think about is money and sex. Then, I mean, if it gets to that point, you're living with a family and all you think about day and night is money and sex, then your spiritual life is down the plug hole. You're down the gurgler. We call that down the gurgler. It means you've gone down the plug hole. In that case, what the scriptures say, if you're really like that, if you never think about God, you're always just thinking about how to make money, how to spend money, how to have sex and all this kind of stuff. It's called griha under kupam. That means your griha means your house, home life. Under means dark. Kupa means well. It's family life for that kind of thing is compared to a deep, dark well. Means that's hell. You know, if you imagine because in India, especially places you have lots of wells, and sometimes the well dries up or is not used anymore and it gets covered by long grass and stuff. And then someone walking along in the forest falls in the well, you know, and of course, if there's no water in the well, you're going to go right to the bottom and you can't get out. You can't get out. So it's like that. That's what it's talking about, entanglement. So we see, you know, most people in the world have families. And most of those people, are they Krishna conscious or spiritually aware? No. They're just running around like mad, you know, trying to, you know, enjoy their senses. They go to parties, they go to pubs, clubs, brothels, you know, cinemas, you know, restaurants, eating dead carcasses of animals and everything, and drinking liquor. And, you know, what's that? That's griha andakupam, you know, so they're very entangled. So, like, if it becomes like that, then definitely scriptures say you have to get out. You have to get out, you know, so because like we said, you know, what profiteth for the man if he gaineth the whole world but loses his eternal soul? You know, that was a quote from the Bible. You know, so what's the point? You know, if you've lost your soul, nastatmana, you've lost your soul, then that's like horrible. You should get out. You know, your house is on fire. You have to get out. You know, so but it doesn't have to be. I mean, you can make it favorable, and then it can be like we said. You know, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says, if 4 things are going on in the house, your house is Vaikuntha. So your house can be a dark well if it's just sex, drugs, rock and roll. And your house can be the spiritual world if he says there's kirtan. Prabhupada mentions it in the Bhagavad Gita purport. If there's kirtan, if your chanting is going on, if puja or worship of the Lord is going on, like arteries and so forth, if distributing prasadam, if you're preparing prasadam and distributing prasadam is going on, and reading Bhagavatam, you know, the scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam is going on in the house. Like now, everyone's in their house, right? Nilakanta prayers at work, but other than that, we're all in our houses, and what's going on? We're talking about Krishna in the house. So that's not a dark well. The house for us is the spiritual world. So should I leave my house? No, I'd be crazy. You know, because it's going very well. You know, it's favorable to Krishna consciousness. So does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So let's continue. Text 15.
All right, text 15.
Okay, Narendra, do you read text 15?
Yeah. One should not be happy or distressed over desirables and undesirables, knowing that such feelings are just created by the mind.
Okay, so this relates to, in the Bhagavad Gita, samachitam istonista papitasu, which Prabhupada says is even-mindedness present events. Ista nista, ista and anista means pleasant and unpleasant. And samachitam, samachitatvam means sama means equal, and chitta is your mind. So being equipoised, have an equipoised mind, equanimity of mind amidst pleasant and unpleasant, you know, favorable, unfavorable. And that's the material world, right? It's dualities. So that's basically saying, you know, this world of dualities, you should have an equal mind to all of these things. To happy situation, unhappy situation, pleasant, unpleasant, good and bad, like that, hot and cold, and so forth, rich and poor, and, you know, healthy and sick. You know, we should have equanimity to this, because all these dualities, what are they affecting?
The mind? No.
The dualities are in the mind. Yes, yes, yes. The perception of the dualities in the mind, but what are they actually affecting? The heat and the cold and the rich and the poor and the body. But the first thing we learn, right? You're not the body, you're a spirit soul. So therefore you should realize that all of these dualities, which only affect the body and which are perceived, because the body is not perceiving these things. Like, where does the pleasure register in the body? Where does the pain register in the body? No, in the mind. It's actually in the mind. It's affecting the body, but it's the perception of it is in the mind. The perception of it's in the mind. So, and that's what Prabhupada's saying here, knowing that such feelings are just created by the mind. So all these feelings of pleasure and pain, honor and dishonor, created by the mind, depending on the body that you have and everything like that. There'll be different feelings. Someone, you know, with one person's body, they might be feeling it's very hot. Another person's body, they are feeling, oh, it's very cold. What are you talking about? It's not hot, it's cold. You know, another person's feeling, oh, this food is very spicy. Another person's feeling, that's not spicy at all. You know, put more spice. You know, so depending on the different body and the different perceptions of the mind, you know, there's so many different experiences there. And that's why we have different bodies, different minds, giving us different experiences, because that's what the soul wants to taste. This is called rasa. We want to have different tastes or experiences. Therefore, you know, the demigods and Krishna give us different bodies with different mentalities to have different experiences. Oh, you want to taste the experience of flying. Okay, have a body of a bird. Oh, you want to taste the experience of swimming in the sea. Okay, have a body of a fish. You know, so because we want to taste different things, you know, you have different bodies and different. But these are all mental concoctions. The scriptures call this manarath. Manarath. Mana means mind and rath means chariot. So it's the chariot of the mind is taking us all over the place. Is taking us all over the place. Oh, I'm very happy today. Yay! Oh, I'm very sad today. You know, so we go through so many, oscillate between so many dualities like that. And, you know, the mind is tasting all these different varieties, you know, but these things are not useful. They're not useful for our spiritual life. They just, like I was saying before, they entangle us. We get entangled in these things. It means we're always thinking about them. You know, whatever you love, whatever you're attached to, means you're thinking about it. You know, that, and whatever you hate, I mean, you don't love it, but you're also thinking about it, isn't it? Like if I say, I love white people. So you're thinking about white people. Or you can say, I hate black people. But that means you're always thinking about black people. But is there any difference? No, whether you love or you hate, that means you're thinking about either one. You know, like Prabhupada said, if the Hindu hates a Muslim, and he's going to be thinking about Muslims, and his next life, when he dies, his next life is going to be, what is he going to become?
A Muslim?
Yeah. A Muslim, he hates Hindus, and his next life, what is he going to become?
A Hindu.
A Hindu. You know, so whatever you're thinking about, whether it's attachment or aversion, that's what you become. See how it entangles you. So these dualities, they entangle us. Whether you like something and you think about it, then you're going to get that. or you don't like something and you think about it, and then you get that. So you see what I'm saying? But anything, what's that?
If I always think of Krishna, then oh no.
Follow the logic. Follow the logic. And it's not just me saying that. I mean, you can read it, 8th chapter, Bhagavad Gita, text number 6. Yam yam vapi smaram bhavam chadyatya ante kalevaram tam tam avaidi kuntaya sadatad bhava bhavata. That whatever state of being you remember when you quit this body, that state you'll attain your next life without fail. And in the previous verse, he says, Ante kale chamame vasmaran mukva kalevaram ya prayadi samadbhavam. No, tam tam avadi kuntaya. That if you remember me when you quit your body, Krishna speaking, if you remember me when you quit your body, you will attain me without any doubt. You'll attain me without any doubt. So, if you think of Krishna, you go to Krishna. If you think of something else, you go to wherever that is. It's saying that Yanti Deva Yanti Deva Pratavata Petra Yanti Pratavata Bhutani Yanti Bhuteja Yanti Madhyajinopiam, that one who worships the demigods goes to the demigods. One who worships the ancestors goes to the ancestors. One who worships the ghosts and spirits goes to the ghosts and spirits. But one who worships me comes to me. So take your pick. So basically, whatever you're thinking about, whatever you're worshipping or whatever, sometimes it's like that. Our relationships is, doesn't it? I don't know where you're going to go if you worship a car. Maybe you take birth as a cockroach in the car in your next life or something. I don't know where you go, but definitely won't be going back to Godhead. But some people, they're so attached, to their car or whatever like that, and and what's the problem with that? Well, what are the potential problems if you're overly attached to your car? What's the potential problems there? What happens if someone steals it? What happens if someone bangs into it? There's so many things, right? So many things, Some people, for them, the car is their death trap. I heard just a couple of weeks ago, one group of people went to a protest, and they were on their way home. They didn't reach home. They all died in their car. 4 people. They all died in the car. So, and the car can be very pleasing to our senses. Oh, what a nice day! You're going to go for a drive and everything. But in another circumstance, the car is, and gone. So like I'm saying, you have desirable, undesirable, favorable, unfavorable. Why, that's so many things like that. So rather than get attached or hating things, we should just be very, once again, it's a matter of duty, just very equipoised. We're using them, our relationship with everything in the material world. It's just a matter of duty. What is the car? It's to get us from A to B. You're not supposed to love the car. It's just a thing to get you from A to B, like that. So we have that in the Bhagavad Gita mentioned many times, Samadarshana, that we towards everything. I mean, everything's Krishna's energy, so we should actually have great respect for everything. But you don't get very excited about one particular thing, and and you hate another thing. It's like you see some gold and wow, gold, wow, that's fantastic. And then stones, you see some stones, oh, stones, yuck, whatever. No, it's not like that. Why one part of matter we like very much and another part of matter we don't like it? Why is that? I mean, there's a verse what is it, 6th chapter, text number 8, saying that the yogi, he sees everything the same, whether it be pebbles, stones, or gold. You can read that there, 6th chapter, text 8. Pebbles, stones, or gold. You could say, well, how the hell can you compare pebbles with gold? Because, I mean, externally looks different. But it means, you know, I'm not more attracted to one than the other. I don't dislike one of them more than the other. You see them all as Krishna's energy. And that, what is the same about pebbles and gold is that it's all Krishna's energy. That's the thing that's the same. Paramatma, the super soul, is in pebbles. I mean, the next verse, 6:9, I think it is, says one should also, the yogi also sees with an equal mind friends and enemies and well-wishers and rivals, and I think, how the hell am I going to see a friend the same as an enemy? You know, but what is the same with the friend and the enemy? The super soul is in, and the individual soul and the super soul is in your friend, and the individual soul and the super soul is in your enemy. So, and that's what's the same. Of course, the interactions are not the same, but still the essence is the same. So, and a yogi is trained to see the essence. Don't just see this, you know, we just see the external, you know, the dress, you know, don't, we just get so caught up in this. Oh, I love this. This is amazing. Or I hate this. This is my worst shirt. You know, it's just superficial. It's so superficial. What, and that absorption in the superficial is what causes us to become entangled. If you're attached to gold, you have to come back again. If you hate pebbles, you have to come back again. You know, if you you know, really attached to your friends, you have to come back again. If you hate your enemies, you have to come back again. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? Is that gold and those friends and those enemies and pebbles and that worth us coming back again for a round of birth, old age, disease, i.e. COVID, and death? Is it worth it? No, why? But if we see everything the same, if we train our mind to see Krishna everywhere, that's the spiritual platform. That's not the mental platform. It's the spiritual platform. You see Krishna everywhere. Then the body will die as everyone else's, but you won't come back. You know, so that's why that training is there, to rise above the mental platform. Because what are the mental platforms all in relationship to me? I like this. I hate this. You know, but so it's all centered around the body. And that's what causes us to come back again. But if you think, but you can think another way. Krishna likes this. You know, like Krishna likes chanting. Oh, so I'll chant. Krishna likes being offered vegetarian food with love. You know, so I'll do that. Krishna doesn't like me talking nonsense. Okay, so I won't do it. Krishna doesn't like, because there are things, Krishna's a person. So Krishna has likes and dislikes. You know, Krishna doesn't like people blaspheming devotees. So, you know, I won't do that. And, you know, I won't associate with people that do that. You know, so, you know, Krishna doesn't like me drinking beer. Okay, so I'll, you know, be detached from that. You know, so rather than think, I like this, I don't like this, you know, think, well, Krishna likes this, Krishna doesn't like this. That there's no problem. And then that, so you're lining up your desires with Krishna's desires. And that's actually one aspect of surrender. You know, like, let's look at the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna didn't like to kill his family members. He was very detached from that idea. He hated that idea of killing his family members. But when he realized that Krishna wanted his family members dead, then he still didn't like it, but that doesn't matter, right? Because you're a surrendered soul. So, okay, I don't like to kill the family members, but Krishna, you want me to kill them, so I'll kill them. You know, so that's it. You know, your likes and dislikes are lined up with the Lord's. It's not about you anymore, what you like, what you don't like. Does that make sense? Is it a hard pill to swallow? I mean, I have to say, Krishna doesn't normally ask devotees to kill their family members. That's an extraordinary occurrence. But that particular time, that was the situation. There were so many demons that had taken birth in the Kuru dynasty like that, and Krishna had to get them removed. You know, so but it doesn't often happen like that. But the point is there. The point is there that, you know, it's not about what I like, what I don't like. And that's why Krishna arranged a very, very exceptional circumstance to really get into our thick head that, you know, our purpose is to please Krishna's senses, not to please our own senses. And you can read that in the end of the preface, which is very fantastic. The end of the preface of Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada explains this is the sum and substance of the Bhagavad Gita. I'll just read it. It's just a one-liner or something. So let's have a look. Okay, this is the last paragraph of the preface. A living entity is happily the part and parcel of the Lord, and thus his natural function is to remain service to the Lord. By the spell of illusion, one tries to be happy by serving his personal sense gratification in different forms, which will never make him happy. Instead of satisfying his own personal material senses, he has to satisfy the senses of the Lord. That is the highest perfection of life. The Lord wants this, and he demands it. One has to understand the central point of Bhagavad Gita. Our Krishna consciousness movement is teaching the whole world the central point. And then it goes on, but I'll leave it there. But that's the central point of Bhagavad Gita. You know, Arjuna in the beginning, he wanted to please his own senses by not fighting. But at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, he realized that I'm a servant of Krishna. I have to please his senses. It's not about pleasing my senses. It's about pleasing Krishna's senses. But, however, although I've said it's not about pleasing our own senses, but the way it works is if you please Krishna's senses, what effect does that have on your senses, on you? If Krishna's senses are pleased by your service, by your serving his senses, and Krishna's senses are pleased, then what effect does that have on us? On our senses? Huh?
Our senses are pleased as well, I guess.
Yeah, we become pleased as well, because that's the thing. We're part and parcel of Krishna. You know, so Arjuna did that work in the battle of Kurukshetra. The battle is fought 18 days. It's all over. And what was Arjuna's experience? Did he become depressed and have up in a mental hospital? No, he was happy. He was happy because Krishna was pleased and he was happy. And he knew that all those family members that died in the presence of Krishna, where did they go?
They were liberated.
They got moksha. I mean, that's pretty good. That's pretty good, isn't it? I mean, do you really love your family? Wouldn't you want your family to get liberated, to get moksha? Well, just do what Krishna says, you idiot. You know, when we think we have a better plan. No, they shouldn't die. Don't kill them. No. You know, so we don't understand the big picture, but Krishna always has the big picture. Krishna knows that we just have to have faith, and that's what we talked about with Shraddha. Shraddha means faith. You know, we just have faith that if I just serve Krishna's senses, then I'll be happy, and my family will be happy, and everyone will be happy. It's not that we want to make the family unhappy or anything, but if we just go along with Krishna's plan, that's the best way to make the family happy. Like my mum and dad would be very happy, like right now, if I, you know, left the Hare Krishna movement and just came back to being a full-on materialist. They'd be very happy. But temporarily, I know they would be. But in the long term, they'll suffer. You know, but I know the best thing I can do for them is by my maintaining my Krishna consciousness. Then Krishna will be kind to them, knowing that they, you know, help bring one of his servants into the world. You know, they'll share the credit. They'll get some credit for that. So the best thing I can do to help my parents is by being Krishna conscious. Even though now it's not pleasing their senses, but in the long run it is pleasing their senses. In the long run it is. So I mean, our problem is we're very narrow. We're like creepiness. We're just so narrow. What do they call it? The horse with the blinkers on. You know, there's a saying about the horse with the blinkers. You know, we're like that. We're very narrow. We're a creepiner. But a devotee is supposed to become full of knowledge, and we become Brahmana. Brahmana means very broad-minded. So we have to become very broad in our vision, and that broad vision, then we see the Paramatma, Krishna is everywhere. You know, and the individual soul, which we're all parts and parcel of Krishna, is everywhere. With that kind of vision, then we don't become entangled. But if you have a very dualistic vision, 100% you're going to be entangled, 100%. I like this, I don't like this, I, oh my God, how many times we say I, you know? You know, I like this, I don't like that, okay, you know, and then, but that's lining you up for your next entanglement, for your next material body, you know? You know? That makes sense? Anyone want to say, anyone has any realizations or comments about that?
Yeah, I think, I mean, as you said, I mean, mind can't stop thinking, you know, you just keep thinking. The Krishna conscious process where everything is about listening about Krishna, doing things about Krishna. So what you're doing is basically replacing the material desire with the transcendental desire.
Yeah. Because that's the thing, good point, that you can't stop desires. It's not saying, you know, that you have to stop your desires, but we've just got to change the nature of our desires. There's no off switch anywhere. You know, you can't turn the mind off or anything like that. But instead of thinking, you know, I like this, you think, well, Krishna likes this. Krishna doesn't like this. Instead of I like this, I don't like it, you know. This is pleasing to me. This is not pleasing to me. But instead of that, thinking, well, this is pleasing to Krishna. This doesn't please Krishna. You know, so this pleases Krishna, I'll do that. This doesn't please Krishna, I won't do that. You know, so it's just changing the central point. Instead of me being the center of the universe, which is not real, I would like to think it is, but it's not, is it? You know, we're putting Krishna in the center of everything, which is the real fact, which is the real truth. And this is actually the cause of so many problems, because I think I'm the center, and then, you know, if you think you're the center, and then what do you have? World War III. You know, it's like then you have we have so many problems like that today, because everyone's thinking, oh, you all should please me, and everyone else is thinking the same thing, you know, and we all end up fighting like cats and dogs. You know, so this is my land, this is my property, and everyone else is thinking the same thing, you know, and then you kill her, the rascal, you know. So this is the cause of so many problems, you know.
All the problems, I think.
And this was the beginning of this Isopanisad, right? Ishavasya Midam Savam, that everything's owned and controlled by God, not by anyone else. And we're all just taking a little part of his quota, you know, our quota, which he's given us, and be happy with that, and don't take anyone else's. You know, so this is this is the you know, the spiritual consciousness, spiritual vision. This is the spiritual vision to be trained up, because any other kind of vision of dualistic, you know, on the mental platform is going to fully entangle us, you know. Even like Kamsa, right? Kamsa and his sister. Normally, you know, he had a very pleasing relationship. Oh, my sister's just got married, you know, I'll take her and Vasudev to Vasudev's house on the marriage day. I is very pleased. The mind is very happy. Oh, my wonderful sister and brother-in-law, I'm so happy for them. But when there was a voice from the sky said, ha, 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 what a fool you are, Kamsa. You don't realize the eighth child of your sister is going to be the cause of your death. What a fool, you know, like that. And then as soon as he heard that, his mind just completely changed. And he grabbed his sister's hair. I don't have much. He grabbed his sister's hair and then pulled out his sword and was going to chop her head off. And you think, how could he do that? He was so happy with his sister. And then the next minute, he wants to kill his sister. What's going on? But that's the mind. That's what the mind does. It oscillates between, I like this, I don't like this, I love you, I hate you, you know, like that. See, I accept this, I reject this. They're constantly going between accepting, rejecting, liking, like that. So if that's going on, we know we're on the mental platform, or someone else is on the mental platform. But, you know, we have to rise above that, you know, otherwise we're never going to progress in spiritual life. If always going like that, you know, one way, another way. So the spiritual platform, that's stable. That doesn't change. Spiritual platform doesn't change. The soul doesn't change. Krishna doesn't change. Our relationship doesn't change. You know, so that doesn't change. But everything materially is always changing. If someone's helping my body, I call them my friend. If someone's, you know, interfering or hurting my body, I call them my enemy. But what's that about? I mean, that happens, but is that really significant? That's not really. That's not. Of course, we should protect the body. I'm not saying we shouldn't, but that's not the main thing. We shouldn't be just thinking about that. Otherwise, we have to take another body. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So Krishna consciousness is the best way to rise above the mental platform, which is causing us to be entangled. You know, because that's the only platform where everything is consistent, where it doesn't change, where it's permanent. So that can, and Krishna consciousness is so powerful, it can capture the mind. That's another very important point. I'm glad that came up. That Krishna, right? Krishna means all attractive. That's the meaning of the name Krishna. That's God's primary name, Krishna. Why is it his primary name? Because it means all attractive, which is sums up what God is, that he attracts everyone. So he's unlimitedly beautiful, unlimitedly strong, unlimitedly wealthy. You know, the six opulences called Sadaishvarya Purna. That God is full of six opulences. So these are things that attract us. If someone's very beautiful, we're attracted. If someone's very rich, we're attracted. If someone's very knowledgeable, we're attracted. It's very strong, very famous, very renowned. So Krishna has all those six opulences in full. So Krishna, he's so attractive, he can capture the mind. One of his names is Manohar. Manohar. Murali Manohar. That with his flute playing, he captures the mind, doesn't it? Like all the gopis and that. So Krishna can attract us. And we might notice that when we experience the Krishna Kirtan, chanting like at Friday night at the Bhakti Tree, so many people became attracted through hearing the holy name of Krishna. And through having the prasadam afterwards. Krishna's prasadam became very attracted. You know, so, and then that's what attracts the mind. So that we need that, because the mind is so attracted to all these dualities. But to help the mind rise above that, we need something more attractive, you know, to grab the mind. So the only thing strong enough to grab the mind is Krishna. And that's where the name Rama comes in. Rama means the reservoir of all pleasure, the source of all pleasure. As soon as we connect with Krishna, we experience that Rama, that pleasure. And that's the only thing that satisfies the heart, because the mind is looking for pleasure, right? But how much pleasure are we getting from material things, material relationships? Just a drop here and a drop there, you know, and it doesn't quench our desire. It doesn't quench our thirst. Like if you're in a desert and you take a drop of water, you're going to be happy? No, it's just going to make you more thirsty. You need heaps of water, and that's not there in the desert. So Krishna's like that. He's that reservoir of nectar, amrita. So once we connect with Krishna, we experience that pleasure, and then we rise above the mental platform. But if we're not connecting with Krishna, then you can't. The nature of the mind is it's searching for that pleasure, and you just get a drop. You've just got to, you know, drown the soul in the nectar of Krishna consciousness. And then anandam buddhi vardhanam pradipadam purnamrita svadanam sarvatmasnapanam param vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. Saying that the congregational chanting of the holy name, it's like an ever-increasing ocean of bliss, which bathes the soul. The soul is bathing in an ever-increasing ocean of bliss. So that's what each one of us as an eternal soul, that's what our nature is, bliss. You know, why are we looking for happiness? Because that's our nature. It's not Maya that we want to be happy. That's our nature that we want to be happy. The Maya is that we're trying to be happy from material things in the material world. That's Maya. But us searching for happiness is not Maya, but we're searching in the wrong place. Where are we searching in a desert for water? Wrong place. You know, it's not that water doesn't exist. Water does exist, but not in the desert. If you look for water in the desert, that's Maya. That's illusion. That's why you call it mirage, right? Mirage is that idea that you can see water in the desert, but that's an illusion. It's a mirage. So it's not wrong that we look for happiness. That's our nature. That's our right. It's called adhikar. That's we're eligible for that. We are Satchitananda. That's our nature, eternal knowledge and bliss. So we're just looking in the wrong place. But once we connect from Krishna, then we become completely satisfied, and then we don't care about all these dualities anymore. Oh, pebbles, who cares? Gold, you know, whatever like that. So you don't hate anything, you don't love anything. It all becomes the same. And that's how practically it happens. How you can get to that point where you don't become too attached or don't hate anything is because your mind is just so intoxicated with thinking about Krishna that everything just reminds you of Krishna, and you don't see anything else like that. It's pretty cool. We hope we'll achieve that platform. We're not there yet. But even knowing about it helps. You know, we can hear. Of course, we're not pretending that we're on that platform. That's called Mahabhagavata or Uttamadhikari. That's the topmost devotee. He just sees Krishna everywhere, and like that, he doesn't see anything else. You know, when he sees pebbles or gold, he just sees Krishna. You know, but and we can't, you know, artificially imitate that. That'll happen whenever Krishna wants it to happen. But at least we theoretically know about that's helpful. So we should try not to focus too much on these dualities and try to develop our focus more on Krishna. So, well, maybe I should do more chanting, you know, maybe I should hear about Krishna more and develop more Krishna consciousness. That's the solution. That's the solution.
Yeah, I was thinking, in terms of, you know, how to bring Krishna and everything. Say, for example, you work for a certain company, but you don't think that you're working for that company. Ultimately, who you're working for, you're working for Krishna, basically. Even though, I mean, everything, even if you create a company or anything, ultimately, everything is dependent on who? It's Krishna, right?
Krishna.
Even if whatever services or product the company is making, that's everything is from Krishna. So if I'm working for TCS, I'm not thinking, I shouldn't be thinking, I mean, that I'm working for TCS, I'm working for Krishna.
Yeah, no, that's really
I mean, that's kind of, I was thinking in terms of practically how you apply that, you know, in your real life. It's because that's where, if you're working 8 hours for a company or something, how do you bring Krishna into it? So, I mean, and you can, you know, you can feel the difference. I mean, the mentality changes, you know, when you work. And so yeah, so I was just looking at the avenues how I can bring in practically in everything what I'm doing.
Yeah.
That's where, you know, otherwise we keep reading. I need to implement it.
Yeah. And definitely that can be done, because that is that everything has a relationship with Krishna. Everything is, but we just got to find that link. And that's what yoga means, right? Linking it. So you've just got to link it. You know, like we all do karma, right? Karma means activities. But when you link it with Krishna, what do you call that? When you link your karma with Krishna, what do you call that? Karma yoga. Everyone's thinking, right? With your mind, you're thinking, that's called jnana, you know, speculation. But when you connect your thinking with Krishna, that's called jnana yoga. You know, everyone has some love direct towards so many things. That's, you could say, is bhakti. But when you connect that love with Krishna, that's called bhakti yoga. You know, so it's all there. You just got to find the link. And then that's where the human life comes in. God has given us intelligence to connect the dots. You know, there's that game, right, where you connect the dots. You got to join the dots. So, you know, you've got a brain, you know, we've all got a brain, so you have to join the dots. Like Prabhupada talked with a and said, and Prabhupada said, where does glass come from? And the man said, sand. Okay, that's connected to 2 dots. And then the Prabhupada asked a more difficult question, where does sand come from? And the man was a pious Indian man, so he says, Bhagavan. He says, God. Okay, that's a very important line to join up. You know, and then Prabhupada said, oh, you are stealing Bhagavan's sand and selling it for profit. And the man said, no, Swamiji, I am giving some donation to the temple. And Prabhupada said, you're a small thief. You know, so, but like that, we have to connect the dots, you know, that, okay, you know, the sand comes from Bhagavan. Use that, you know, give the profit from that sand to Bhagavan, whatever like that. Or put some, like in Nugo Cooler in Australia, one glass manufacturer, he donated all the windows for that extension, all the temple extension, you know, there's dozens of windows. He donated the whole lot. You know, so that's you know, being Krishna conscious in your work. That's being Krishna conscious in your work. You know, somehow we have to connect all the things, you know, and you can do that in any area. In any area, you know. When you smell a flower, you think that this Krishna says, I'm the fragrance of the earth. So, you know, the fragrance comes from Krishna. Whenever you see the sun or the moon in the day or the moon at night, that Krishna says, the sun and the moon are my eyes. I'm the light of the sun and the moon. I'm the light of the sun and the moon. So I am the sound and ether. So whenever you hear a sound, that the source of that sound, not just the Hare Krishna mantra, every sound, all sound comes from Krishna. It's like something. You can think of Krishna. Krishna says, I am the taste of water. Anytime we all drink water, then you can think of Krishna. So it's just a matter of connecting it. It's explained that our life is like so many zeros. Your house is a zero, your car is a zero, your family is a zero, your money is a zero, your job. But Krishna consciousness is, I mean, and if you've got 100 zeros, how much does that equal, Deepa? You're an accountant. 100 zeros, how much does that equal? 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0?
The big fat zero.
A big fat zero means that's not very valuable, is it? But so you got 100 zeros. If you put a 1 in front of the 100 zeros, how much is that, Deepa?
Oh, that's a lot.
If you can answer that, I'll be very impressed. But it's a lot. It's a lot. And that's that one. That's Krishna. So if you put Krishna in front of all that other stuff that's there, and you don't have to get rid of all the zeros, all you have to do is put the one in front. I mean, everything that we have without Krishna is zero. You're born with zero, and you're going to die with zero. And you can't take anything with you except for your karma, your bad karma or whatever. So it doesn't mean anything. But if you put one in front, you know, if you use your car for Krishna, your money for Krishna, your house for Krishna, family for Krishna, your body for Krishna, your words for Krishna, your everything for Krishna, then you've hit the jackpot. You're going back home back to God. You're going to be happy now. You're going to be happy now. And then when at the end of this life, you're going to hit the jackpot. Yeah, go back home back to Godhead forever. I mean, you scored. You know, it's more than the what do you call it? The Powerball, the lotto, whatever you call it. You know, you've really hit the jackpot. You know, so that's that. It's very practical. You don't have to get rid of anything. You just have to add Krishna to it. Anyway, we're over time.
You're just being consistent, Abhay.
Oh, thank you. That you're seeing everything in a very transcendental way.
I was reading, I think, 18th chapter, 56. It was saying something very. I'm just looking at it. If you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of the conditioned life by my grace. If, however, you do not work in such consciousness, but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite verses. Yeah, that's 58. Text 58.
He's just asking us to be conscious of me. I mean, that's Krishna consciousness, right? Yeah. As you said, I mean, bring Krishna in everything. Then all the obstacles will be.
Yeah, and being conscious means to think. You know, being conscious of me means to think of Krishna. So if you just think of Krishna somehow or other, you know, you're tasting the water, when you're eating, seeing something, you know, working something like that, just always thinking about Krishna. You know, like that. And then that's only really going to happen as, you know, to the point of all the time when there's a lot of love there. See, when you have love, automatically you're thinking about, isn't it like, you know, the mum, right? She's always thinking about her kids. Why? Because love is there. So that same principle. See, we have love, but we just got to direct it towards Krishna. And if you do that, you've like for a woman, it's actually very easy because she has so much love already. It's just directed towards other things. But that love, we just direct it towards Krishna, then you hit the jackpot. And then automatically, you know, you'll be thinking about Krishna. But that's what our practice is that, you know, we don't have maybe a lot of love for Krishna, but we're just Master instructions in the scriptures and that we're doing these practices, and as a matter of duty, starting off as a matter of duty. We don't necessarily all love Krishna, but we're just doing it as a matter of duty, following our guru and everything like that, the scriptures. And then the love develops out of that. And a beautiful example Prabhupada gives how love comes from duty is that when they were arranging the marriages, then, you know, before the boy had never met the girl and the girl had never met the boy before they got married, right? So there's no love. I mean, they didn't even know each other. They didn't even see each other before. There's no love. So it was just a matter of duty. And then they just did their duty, the husband to the wife, wife to the husband. And in due course of time, if the husband died before the wife, then when the husband's body was being burnt, the wife would jump into the fire. You know, and if you try to stop her, good luck, because she's so determined that I'm going to go into that fire. One, because, you know, the fire of separation in her heart from her husband is more stronger than the actual physical fire, and that's there. And also because she had the knowledge that wherever my husband's soul's gone to, if I go into this fire now, then I'm going to go with him in his next life. So with that knowledge, so and then of course as Kali Yuga came in, and there wasn't that duty anymore. The duties weren't being done properly, so there wasn't so much attachment and love. Then the family members started dragging the wife into the fire, and of course that's abominable. So the British stopped that one. That was called the sati rite. And but Prabhupada makes that point. So in the beginning, it was just duty between the man and the woman. But because they did their duties day after day after day after day after day, then out of that, slowly love developed. How do we know it developed? Because she was so attached to the fire. So that's our faith, that although we might not feel a lot of love for Krishna right now, but if we keep doing our duty to chant Hare Krishna, to read Bhagavad Gita, to serve the devotees, to do all these things, you know, give some, you know, use our money in Krishna's service or whatever like that, then slowly love develops. And I've seen it, and I've seen it, you know. But definitely there is some love there. Otherwise, why would we chant Hare Krishna? You know, what I could be spending 2 hours watching TV, you know, but I've sacrificed that to chant Hare Krishna. So there must be some feeling there. Otherwise, why would I do it? You know, so definitely there's some love there, but how it develops more and more to the point where you're thinking about Krishna all the time is just by doing it, these duties. We should stick to these duties. And that's why in Bhakti, we do it every day. We don't do like a Christian do it. If you do it 2 hours on a Sunday once a week, then the love's going to develop very slowly. I mean, it'll develop, but you're going to take many lifetimes. But I want to go back to God in this lifetime. So I'll do my duties every day, you know, and for many hours every day, you know. So we want to, just like the husband and wife doing their duties every day, and they develop love, you know, after 20, 30 years, they really love each other so much, you know, because they've dutifully, the wife has dutifully cooked, the husband's dutifully made the money for the family, you know, so love develops, you know. Anyway, I better let you go back to your families.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, bro.